Eurovision 2019. It's over, but the controversies still surrounding the event are not. This year's competition, the 64th Song Contest, which was held in Israel, has been labeled the most politically fraught in Eurovision's long history. The event brought to light political and social crises Israel is rocked with. This included boycotts, anger over holding the Eurovision Song Contest's final on the Sabbath, pro-Palestinian groups, including the Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions or BDS movement, had called on artists and the public to stay away from the 41-country international singing competition to protest against Israeli policies and human rights breaches in the occupied West Bank and the besieged Gaza Strip. There had been regular protests and online campaigns against the event by pro-Palestinian groups. Israel was trying hard to counter them, but apparently to no avail. In fact, this was so evident when Iceland's punk rock band Hatari raised scarves showing Palestinian flags during the announcement of their final results in Eurovision 2019.
Well, again, with God's help, this is a follow-up of the first question. They attempt constantly to do things to make themselves look acceptable to the world and, like I say, forward-thinking and, humane and really not only humane, but they think about the art interests and the things that are above and beyond what's necessary even. But we hope that, on the contrary, this brought out the revolt and that it is unacceptable, the patent falsehood of what they're doing. That here they're trying to present themselves as artistically and musically there, while they're not even giving the basic rights of what's necessary for human beings.
Protesters gathered across the venue before, during, and after the event.
A moral obligation to, if Europe is coming here, to tell them, you know where you are, right? You know what's happening here, right? You have to know. You have a moral obligation to know. You have a moral obligation to world peace and security. You have to know that it's being threatened right under your noses, right? You know that, right? So it is our responsibility and obligation to let them know that in March, and that they see it, they hear it, that they can't miss it.
We are here to protest against the endless bloodshed in Gaza. Our government, the Israeli government, is trying and doing its best to continue the bloodshed with the ongoing siege on Gaza, the hunger, the medical situation, the humanitarian crisis brings about more and more and more violence. The violence strikes us back, and the residents of Israel in the south living in shelters. This reality cannot continue forever, and it seems like our government wants it to. So my part as an Israeli is to protest against my government and demand to end the siege and bring peace.
Even a concert held by activists was held in the besieged Gaza Strip in parallel with the Eurovision contest. This contest, however, was much different, as it was held by activists showing Israel's brutalities against the coastal enclave.
أقمنا أيضا هذا الحفل الفني على غرار الحفل الفني اليوروفيجن المقام على دولة الاحتلال. دولة الاحتلال التي تعمل على قصف المباني وعلى قتل الأطفال وعلى تشريد النساء وقتل النساء أيضا. نحن أحق من دولة الاحتلال بهذه الحفلات الفنية، لأننا نحن أصحاب الحق ونحن أصحاب القضية.
نأمل من العالم كله أجمع مقاطعة بالذات المغنيين الأوروبيين مقاطعة الحفل الغنائي اليوروفيجن الذي يقيمه الاحتلال على أراضينا المحتلة، نعتبره كمشاركتك كمغني أو كغنائي لحفل الاحتلال كأنك بتشارك في جرائم الاحتلال ضد الشعب الفلسطيني.
According to BDS organizers, protests and calls for boycotts have worked, and Israeli authorities' expectations were much lower than before the event.
Seeing that Israel decreased its expectations of tourists who will arrive in Tel Aviv from 50,000 last year to now they're talking about less than 5,000. And this was before the aggression against Gaza. So BDS has played a very important role in this sharp drop in the number of tourists.
احتجاج بصوت صارخ للدول الأوروبية التي تناصر الشعب الفلسطيني وتشارك في المهرجان اليوروفيجن في دولة قاتلة في يوم واحد قتلت 60 فلسطينيا. نحن نقول كيف للغة الفن والموسيقى أن تتناغم مع لغة القتل التي تمتاز بها دولة إسرائيل.
Outside the Expo Center in Tel Aviv, rallies organized by No Pride in Apartheid, an Israeli rights group, protested against the show, saying it art-washed the Israeli occupation of Palestine.
We're here to protest culture washing, to say no to sparkles and glitter while Palestinians are under occupation, and to stand in solidarity with Gazans calling for the right of return.
In occupied Jerusalem, clashes broke out between security forces and ultra-Orthodox Jews who were protesting against the desecration of the Sabbath. Ultra-Orthodox Jews, who represent 10% of Israel's 9 million population according to regime figures, were not happy at all about the contest. Firstly, they believe holding such a contest goes against the laws of Judaism, and secondly, the finale for the event was hosted on a Saturday or Shabbat, the Jewish day of rest. The event highlighted the tensions between liberals and the conservative societies in Israel.
And there was never desecration of the Sabbath. In fact, the horn in the afternoon, there was a custom in Jerusalem that there was a horn blown in the streets of Jerusalem, and all the stores would close a few hours before the Sabbath. All the Jewish stores and the Jewish neighborhoods, you didn't see a car. There was or any desecration of the Sabbath, because you're not allowed to drive a car on the Sabbath. This was the way it was till the Zionists took over. And the Sabbath is the 10 Commandments that we must uphold the Sabbath. Driving in cars, playing music, all the other, these are direct transgressions of the Sabbath, the 10 Commandments that we Jews accepted on Mount Sinai. And how dare they do this? But it's only one item of what they're desecrating, but it's an important item. So there are demonstrations against this. In fact, when the Zionists came, even before they had a state, our leaders, Rabbi Blau and blessed memory, used to go out every Sabbath. Till today they do. And they call out in the streets, Sabbath, 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 Shabbos, 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 because we are screaming how they're desecrating God's name. And this is one of our demonstrations.
Over 140 artists from around the world, 6 of them being from Israel, backed the boycott against Israel throughout the time the event was held there, according to The Guardian. A poll by the Irish publication thejournal.ie showed that 56% of the public was in support of the boycott against the Eurovision and any other international arts event in Israel. According to Israeli business publication Globes, thousands of Eurovision tickets remain unsold, and Tel Aviv hotel and flight prices plummeted during the event as the expected wave of tourists failed to materialize. The Eurovision put in plain view the dilemmas that face Israel and the legal battles that it faces while not guaranteeing the rights of its citizens and the rights of those living in territories it occupies.